Okay. It's, Thursday, July 14th, noon. I'm starting our meeting at 12 o'clock. Exactly. So I know that Susan is going over vouchers, and I think Pat still has to do that, correct? So we'll wait just a little bit and vote on the bills later and talk about those. I know John wants to try to leave early today, so I'm going to start with John and the DPW crew. Okay, John. It's your turn.
Mike has given me the dirty eye. We've been really exceptionally busy with various projects that are going on. The sanitary sewer project, we have had some pump and electrical Zoom meetings to start to get the design, the finished design to go into shop drawings. Once the shop drawings will go in, the engineer, Frank Santelli from TJ Miller, he's like their electrical guy. Review that. We'll have another quick meeting and then we'll get things on order for that project. It looks like the pipe, the green sewer pipe is 12 to 16 weeks out, and the blue pipe, which is commonly used as water, that's the only, just the water is blue, the sewer is green. It's the same quality and all that stuff. And that pipe is going to be 4 to 6 weeks out, consistent to the structures that will need to be built for that project as well. So we're working on getting through those submittals to try to make sure that, you know, there's going to be no issues with using blue pipe versus the green pipe. It's more or less down the road. When people see blue, they think it might be water, when in fact it's really sewer. The water project is going as planned so far. They made it up to Dairy 1. They spent most of yesterday digging around high voltage lines that were mismarked by 15 feet. So the engineer said something to me about that, and I says, well, now they walk a day in our shoes, because we see it all the time. It's hard to locate the stuff without proper as-built and locating technology. So that project's moving really good. They did the tie-in at Dart, and now they're just moving forward with mainline, and then the bore, we're working out basically jack and bore was the original concept to put the sleeve across underneath Warren Road. There's like 5 of them, I believe. And the contractor is asking us to allow them to directional drill, because directional, it's all going to be the same price. It's just a technique they use to get the pipe to the other side of the road. Sometimes they can use the directional drill in a situation where there's no bedrock, and then other times in bedrock they have to use the jack and bore. So we're just trying to wait for the county to give approval on that, because it's their road.
How long does that normally take?
It shouldn't be that long. It really shouldn't be. I think it was submitted last week, so I would think if we don't hear something by beginning of next week, we're probably gonna try to, you know, use some leverage, maybe make some calls and stuff. So we've been moving along with our paving. We paved all the driveways and starting to clean up on St. Joe's, in the midst of doing other work. And then, you know, around the holiday and stuff, everybody had some time off around there. During the beginning of July, we had Linda and Ronnie noticed high flows coming down a treatment plant for 3 hours. It was 1,000 gallons per minute. And we basically correlated it back. I think Bolton Point was alarmed that the airport, there was water all over. So they investigated a water leak. Apparently, the airport removed part of a beaver dam, and somehow it flooded over into the tarmac and near the tower, and the water was into the baggage claim area and into some floor drains, and they had another dumping station. So it equated to 1,000 gallons per minute. So it did it for 3 hours. So about 180,000 gallons, which is a tremendous amount of water. So we went up and did some inspections up there, and Josh Nally, chief of the airport, right?
Yep.
Chief of the airport. The meeting was successful. I think we're gonna figure out what we can do to remediate that. The dumping station line that Gigantic Aviation uses a couple times a month, maybe at most. They just use it to dump what's on the private side of planes. The international flights has to have a certain technique because, you know, they can transmit diseases or invasive or species of some sort. So when they bring garbage in, the garbage basically gets quarantined, tied up, and then goes into a special manifest on how it's disposed of. That's in a nutshell. I think it's resolved. We just need to have them find a time, and they have to go through approvals too, because it might be outside their normal operating budget to have something dug up and cut and capped and this and that. I really can't think of anything else other than Lansing Trails, one is having their picnic this weekend, and we needed to get that, the pipe replacement we did back in April buttoned up. So we were paving that yesterday and today. We tried to finish it yesterday, but we couldn't get it done. So, and then all the driveways are done on St. Joe's. It seems to be really positive. My outlook on that is we're under a significant drought, and there's no sense going through the time. What my goal is next week is Nick is going to be up there just working kind of on his own. It's a safe and good area for him to work without a lot of exposure as far as hazards, vehicles and stuff like that. He's going to be just rough grading it in so we can let it finish settling. We're not going to get into finished topsoil and right now as much as the neighbors and residents up there would like, because once you put that topsoil down, you either got to get into some kind of water regiment, because seeing that later, you have to scat fire it back up, and there's just no sense doing that right now. We'll protect any outlets if there's going to be any potential exposure for erosion and stuff like that. We might throw some temporary seed down just to see if it can grow, because what we want to do is eventually try to paint the topsoil. We don't want to put a lot of topsoil. We just want to put just a little bit, enough to take the material that he'll be using is a select fill. It's almost good enough to grow grass. It's just not the quality of surfacing you kind of want as an area that we're into. And then when we can return, we'll be pulling electrical lines on for the streetlights up on St. Joe's, and that's about it. We're going to start working on a few trails. We need to do some stabilization on trails up in Lansing 2, and we need to patch some potholes on a trail, Lansing 1, in between Leafs and Janivar. And then we're gonna try to move on to the trail behind the mall and get this one done. That is a high profile trail. We worked long and hard to try to get the mall to finally give this to us, and it's been a couple years coming, and we want to provide them with access down to Shannon Park, safe access. We still need to figure out what they're going to do on the street light and any other. We've totally completed their project. The 2/3, 1/3 split, mall 2/3, the village 1/3 on the pipe extension. So Jody's worked really hard getting a spreadsheet of all the bills that come in. I've worked hard to try to keep track of all the times. We'll correlate those two things together. We'll come up with an invoice, and then we'll invoice them for their 2/3 part.
Thank you, Chuck.
So it's just been busy. I'm sure you know, it's just products are hard to get. Manpower and crews are really tough to get now. I know Belisario Excavation's having a tough time keeping employees. RC Wilson's having a tough time. I see Alex Cole have at the job fairs. I mean, there's tons of jobs out there, construction jobs. It just doesn't seem like getting anybody to go do them or is problematic. So that, and ultimately has an effect on us. One, gravel making businesses, blacktop businesses, all the materials become lengthy processes to obtain. And I'm not making excuses, but those are what we're dealing with right now. And hopefully that'll all come to the end and we'll be back on schedule. We've had a great summer to move along. I mean, excellent working summer. Few rains we've actually worked through just because it was a nice change of pace and it kept the dust down. So, but that's all I really have. Is there any questions on bills or?
I have a follow-up question, if that's okay.
Hey, hi, John.
Hi, everyone. I got an email yesterday from a citizen asking me for details, which you touched on briefly, of the mall trail to Shannon Park. Can you just give me a little bit of, I don't exactly remember. I know you're going to refigure it a little bit and then also a little bit more detail on the timeline so I can write back to her.
I would say it's probably going to be closer to the first part of August. And we're going to try to take that steep slope out, you know, how it ramps down hard and then it kind of levels out. We're going to make that a longer transition. It's never going to be ADA compliant because ADA has a loophole that, you know, sometimes the terrain is against trying to be ADA. Unless you're talking about access to buildings, then there's no excuse for access to buildings. But on trails and sidewalks, there is a lot of areas that are gray, whether you use detectables, truncated domes or not.
I'm not 100% sure where this person lives, but in case this was their question, how long do you think the construction will last?
I'm thinking we could probably bang that out in a week or so. Yeah, I'm hoping it's not gonna take very long. I didn't put a lot of money in it for the budget. And we're gonna use resources that are not gonna cost the village much money until we get to the asphalt. We're just gonna try to use the best bang for the village's buck right now. And so I would think a week, we should have a pretty good handle on it, at least get it walkable in a week. And then trying to schedule the paving. As soon as I start working on it, or a couple of days before, I'm gonna try to be scheduling the paving to piggyback right onto it. So it's gonna be a little bit tough at the top, how it transitions into the mall. So that's our biggest hurdle right there. It's hard to engineer all that without lengthy survey and going to work on engineering. So we're gonna shoot it off the hip for that. So it'll be good. So first part of August will be good. If they have any questions, I can try to walk through that with them. Sometimes just being out in the field, you can get a different perspective on it. If you notice that whole road or that whole trail system, that's actually the main system for our sewer outfall that goes down into the treatment plant. It comes down below the mall, makes a 90-degree turn and goes out down that trail and then down through Beckett Way. And then across Beckett, across Cuga Heights, and then down Cedar. So that was originally a sewer, so it was never really designed to accept the walk. And most of that's inverted. So basically, we want to take it and we want to lift it up a little bit to not cause any water issues on the neighbor properties, but yet still keep it so that's not going to be an icy problem during the winter. So.
Thank you. It's Paula Loxcamp, if you hear from her.
Paula's his name? Paula?
Paula, Loskkamp.
Okay, all right, yeah. She can call me, you can give her my number or email. Any other questions?
I have a couple of questions. One, are you still going to put in lighting on that trail?
Up at
At the mall?
Yes, that's the mall's responsibility.
Okay.
I sent an email out some time ago. And she responded, but I don't know what happened after that.
I think I'll go, one of my questions too is, did they contact you about, we weren't supposed to, they were supposed to do some stormwater repair right in that area. Because that's where the bottleneck was.
Yeah.
Anybody ever contacted you?
The only thing they ever did was they ripped there was two pipes that were stacked on top of each other. And then there was a 90-degree elbow and that come up in front of the other pipe. They ripped that elbow off. That's all I do. I can't really see that they did anything that's supposed to be what Brent was originally requiring. They didn't really do much. And so I'm not sure what's going on there.
Ripping the elbow off wasn't what was supposed to
Yeah,
we had talked about. So I'm thinking that if you're there, I'll send out an email to Ken Farrell or Mike Gavin and say, hey, look, the guys are gonna be working on the trail. We need to know what's going on with the light and
Right.
what the situation is with the stormwater, because if you remember in the agreement, if they don't do what they're supposed to be doing, we can do it and charge them.
yeah,
So if we really actually want to get something done, it may come down to that.
yeah. That was part of the agreement. And that's right in all the hard languages that were originally in the original subdivision.
This might be the only way we get something done.
Yeah, no, and to be honest with you, they still left Danny Haynes that did the contracting work on the outlet, where we tied off, where we finished up on a storm, left that 6-8 inches higher than our outlet, and it's backing up in there still. I said something to Gina, Beth, and I think I copied you and Brent on it. It bounced back and said, we'll get to it. Well, they said they'd get to it in a week or so, and it's been months. So anybody could have seen that was gonna happen, any contractor with a halfway good eye.
I'll get a hold of you and we'll figure out some kind of
Okay.
strategy.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to be off like Monday, maybe most of next week. I wanna try to keep my time down a little bit, so I don't not forced to do it at the end of the month. You know what I mean? So what was,
One other question, a dark drive project. How's that looking?
I'm gonna be honest with you, Ronnie, I'm thinking it's more of a winter project now because we're having a hard time.
With,
Belisario having a hard time keeping men, and
Yeah.
it's not, he's having a hard time keeping men. It's like they hire somebody and said they're gonna show up Monday and they never show up.
show up?
And I don't know if it's because of unemployment purposes. I don't know. But he's down to skeleton crew and he's kind of my guy for that. I mean, he actually looked into trying to get some union help to come in, union masons to come in and help him
Right.
with that. And nobody has any help. It's just amazing how much deficiencies there are in
They
that.
aren't alone. It's everywhere. Just let me know.
I want
People are asking me
it to be
on
done.
drive, so
I want it to be done. I'll be honest with you. That's one I would like to chalk off my list for sure.
all right, just,
But I'm gonna start that before I do anything on Graham Road West.
okay,
That's how I wanna prioritize that.
okay. Just let me know when you get some information.
I know Patrick Shanahan, he's been texting me and I think I was telling people the end of July and this was early in the season, like April, and I didn't know that these curveballs were gonna be thrown at me when I'm not a very good hitter and they're pretty good slices, so.
I will send an email to the dark drive listserv and just say, because of supply problem, personnel problems, all of our suppliers, that it's going to be delayed for a winter.
There's no reason why we can't do some work in the winter, October, November. We've done a lot of concrete work in October, November. It's not optimum, but it's possible and you can get just as good a product at the end of the day.
Okay,
What we might do is piece in between each driveway and then come spring, do the driveways, and that way we can blacktop them right up and there's no inconvenience to the disruption of the surfaces where they have to plow across.
I understand.
Yeah.
And I think people will too. So I'll send out an email and just let people know. So
Yep.
it might not bother you, but they might still. So,
And we have all the streetlights in, we have a lot of the materials in, we've done a lot of pre-ordering on all that stuff.
Right.
There's just some issues with the help and some supply. Concrete several weeks out now. I've never seen concrete like that before. They said they have 40 trucks sitting and 20 drivers. Concrete's 2 to 3 weeks out. I've never had to order concrete like that because the problem is you get one rain day in there, it throws the whole out of sequence.
no, that's understandable.
We were fortunate. We called and we got the concrete like 4 days later, but we did it when the first available time slot.
Right.
We were flexible.
Okay. All right. That's all I have.
I just have a quick question. Who's responsible for putting the fencing up on that trail from Shannon Park? Is that shared between us and the
The
mall?
fence to
You know where the trail is,
Were those the zigzag patterns up at the top?
but the fence is down now. It goes right up.
Yeah, that's ours now, but it was the malls. I mean, we can take the split rail down, but I kind of didn't want to do that until I get the surfaces wide enough to allow. Originally, that was for so people wouldn't take carts down it. I mean, it was kind of a zigzaggy thing and it's supposed to, but it also prohibited wheelchairs and stuff like that, you know what I mean? So we'll take all the other fencing in there is the malls. And we made sure that when we did that subdivision to note it on the plans. And that's part of their ECCR agreement that they have to maintain because it's always been this years ago. So when we got hardcore survey with the fences on the survey and showing them in the bounds and trying to understand what their original purpose was for shielding the properties of Shannon Park. Now we have leverage. We have lots of leverage. And that's the beauty of Mike and I and Peter and Donnie and everybody working hard on that subdivision.
Yeah, you know, all that time of doing that stuff where people might think, oh, that's a little bit picky here or there, it's gonna end up helping us in the end because we did that.
So
So,
we learned some long lessons.
yeah, we did.
Yeah, that's all I have. Any other questions?
Chris?
Just doing some roadside mowing when I get a chance. It's the extra.
Are you village going to let people know when I
Sewer?
for the sewer permits or whatever we have to apply for?
Yeah, it's probably not gonna be much before 2023 though. And we'll have plenty of time to notify people. I think a lot of it, if, you know, between Jody and I, we can put something in the newsletter. We get pretty good response from that. We can start posting it on the website. And then maybe, I don't know how to do it without singling everybody out, you know, it's not like, I don't want to miss somebody down there, you know what I mean? Maybe we could put our signs up at the entrances and say, check on the sewer, information on the sewer benefit area. And then in that, we can have something that shows, hey, check and see if sewer is available for your lot or something. You know, we can have an extra note.
Yeah.
For that.
No, a couple of people on Twin Glen.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of people. I got, yeah, okay. I got a lot of, there's gonna be a lot of, potentially 150. I originally thought it was 60 people, but there's a potentially 150 units that can be hooked up from the village.
It's a lot.
At this time of the existing customers. So, I mean, depends on what happens in Sundowns, you know, if that ever gets developed or any other areas that can be subdivided and developed. Oh, I did have a meeting. I'm sorry not to interrupt Chris, but we did have a meeting on Cornell's Uptown Road project with Stephen Furr. Mike and I did. I'm hoping not stealing Mike's thunder, but it sounds like it sounds like it might be their preferred path is to go up Burley Drive. I get off the Zoom. Donnie and I are talking. I explain it to him, and he says, ironically, Village of Cuga Heights had some surcharging of their sanitary sewer manholes down at Burley Drive. Or down at Winthrop, which comes from Burley Drive. So if you're adding, you know, 170 units times 200 gallons a day average, and that line has already been surcharging at its existing, you know, rates, it might have to seek an alternate route. And the alternate route would be down Highgate's flow meter, down University Park areas. If that's the case, then they will struggle with easements. Because when you get into those big hotels, they have to get a lot of bank approvals. And I'm not saying anything, Jeff, it can slow down. It can slow down things. So,
Yeah.
But
Many teams of lawyers could be.
yeah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, that's all I really had. Go ahead, Chris.
Just doing some roadside mowing. when I get a chance.
He's been doing a lot more than that. He's my backup guy. These guys are the life of the DPW up there, so.
Are things actually growing in this drought that you have to cut mow?
Well, they grew before the drought.
Okay.
We're just trimming them back now. Other than that, that's all I got.
Nick, about you?
Yeah, I've been keeping up with the parks. Well, finally can now, everything stopped growing, but just keeping the parks trimmed up, clean, and keeping up with the garbage cans.
Thank you. Thank you. The parks look nice.
Don't forget the radars.
Jed.
Oh, yeah. Radar signs on the yard too, but
Did it fail battery or?
They always do, about a week.
It's a Monday ritual for these guys. Basically change garbages.
Change the battery.
Parks out. They did a nice job putting the bark mulch and the fiber mulch up in at the park. It was well needed. Put that back and they got probably 10 yards up there that they're gonna try to divvy up between Global Village Park. They do this when we're not doing our big construction jobs. It's kind of a nice fill in. If we got a couple hours at the end of the day, they could just boogie up there and do a couple hours worth of work. The Global Village is getting some and then on up to Hartel Park. And the benches come in yesterday. So if you can just point me in the direction of where them benches go again, and then we'll get them placed. You'll get some pads poured and get them in place.
Okay. All right. Do you have problems with that wood carpet disappearing before you put it down?
I don't think anybody really wants it. They look at that and it's not what they want in their flower gardens. They'd rather have the colored mulch and this is here is basically wood chips.
Yeah.
And it's not really the preferred way. It's like getting that load from the power line company that's half full of poison ivy. You know what I mean? They don't want it, you know, or worse.
Okay, all right. Yeah, it looks like a community mulch pile right at the moment.
We've noticed a lot of kids have been, we haven't noticed anybody really stealing it. We noticed a lot of kids have been spreading it around. They've been climbing it. It's kind of a neat little pile for them.
Okay.
So they'll miss it when it's gone.
At least didn't they fall on that if they're supposed to fall on.
It's a sudden stop at the bottom, Ronnie. That's quite dramatic.
All right. Thanks, guys. Jody.
Do you want to approve the vouchers?
Yes, thank you. Are there any questions about the vouchers?
No.
Then hearing none, I will move that we pay the bills for this month. I just need a second.
Second.
Susan seconds. Are there any questions, discussions? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, that's unanimous. The bills will be paid. I can start signing checks. Okay,
Okay, so let's see. John already talked about getting the Pyramid Mall, their storm sewer bill. So we can do that. I was on vacation last week. It's taking me a bit of time to get caught up
Caught up.
with 300 water payments coming in when I'm gone, plus tax payments and vouchers ready for today's meeting. And
we know you get mad if they're
figuring the
not being
budget
on time.
transfers
So
and encumbrances, so. Let's see. Oh, St. Joseph, Patapsco, the stormwater project. All the expenses for that were put under 0.4 because we encumbered money and that's what it was under. But it actually should be under 0.2. So I've done that adjustment for the whole project, printed off everything that was done and did
just
that
moved it into an-
adjustment, yeah.
Okay, and you don't need anything from us to make that formal?
No. I
Okay.
just- If you're okay with it, then that's fine. I don't need a resolution or anything. Just, I
problem.
just want to have it in the minutes that I told you.
Okay,
I guess that's pretty much all I have.
okay. Any questions for Jody? Thank you.
Mhm.
Mike?
Is there have you had any other discussions about this whole sewer issue? What's going on? I mean, is something's been decided? Here's the reason I ask, is over the last couple of weeks, I've had three separate owners come in and ask me about a parcel, changing it as far as zoning wise, changing it. And if it's one parcel, it's spot zoning, it's obvious. So really the only other choices are either a PPA or some type of cluster subdivision. And And the parcels are rather small, so probably a PDA is about the only answer. And in each one of them, you're looking at another 100 units each.
No, man, wow.
And I really can't get into it much more because I told them I really wouldn't, but it's,
Well, I understand where you're going with it, Mike. I'll be honest with you, we officially got a letter that they paused the pause. We hear that a lot. Pause the pause of the sewer moratorium or sewer stoppage. It's not a moratorium yet. We've had a moratorium in the village. It's no good. Just clamshells, everything up as far as development. But they paused the pause. It sounds like we're back on board. And that's why Ronnie asked you and I what we could think of that for units. And Linda got back with a totalized town of Ithaca, town of Lansing, village of Lansing were the three main contributors of the units. And that's basically, they said they sounded like they're doing onesie, twosie residentials were not going to be an issue. If you know of something like that, it would be really good. I had it clarified in Linda's email to the group. They said that running Klein Road bypass at full capacity, they still barely skimmed under their 2 million gallon per day monthly average at 1.977 was the number. So they were close. The thing was though, Linda referenced something wrong. They had the Klein Road bypass fully operational at full capacity the last week of that month. When they run it, the total next month, they weren't even close to their 2 million gallons per day. I had Brent clarify that Monday, this Monday. So that was a positive thing. If you read her email, you wouldn't want to let a small development come in at that rate because there's heavy fines for her once she breaks over that 2 million TPD for the town. So if you could just get her some information to Ronnie, so she can add it in that. It looked like over 1,100 units, if I'm not mistaken. Did you get copied on that email?
I don't remember that email.
Okay, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It looks like 1,100 total units, figuring 200 gallons per day was the, not including residential or small duplex area.
That was our projected number.
That was a projected number from the three main contributors. Hugo Heights is pretty much built out.
1,100 more.
No, 1,100 that's coming in from the village of Lansing, the town of Lansing total. So 400 units was coming from the town of Lansing. I think you had somewhere around 300 units, right?
Yeah.
And then if you're looking at another 300.
It's over and above.
Yeah, if you're looking
Yeah,
at
yeah.
another 300 units.
These are new. Right.
So, I mean, at this point, my only advice, I mean, I don't have really good advice to give these people, except maybe you should come in front of the trustees as an informal, give them a presentation of what you want to do.
Right.
And at that point, you'll have to decide whether, just like a PDA, what should happen with a PDA, you'll have to decide whether this is something that you're interested in and would go to the planning board. But I'm not sure that the trustees can give them any better advice than I can right now, because we don't even know.
Not for sure. But I do know that if they're going to develop something that's that large, 100 units or so, they will have to install a meter, a water flow meter, a sewer flow meter as part of that project. And that will be tied into the Cuyahoga Heights, so it can be monitored within their dashboard, Lecter dashboard for all of the meters. So that's going to be an additional cost. And the Cuyahoga Heights could say, well, we can absorb up to a point, but there's going to be some point where they're going to put another pause in. That's possible anyway. And we have no idea when that would happen.
I can understand your concern because these developers have to go through a lengthy, expensive process to find out maybe they don't even have a potential for anything.
Right.
So I think it's good that if they're not afraid to jump out of the box right now and give a conceptual design of some sort, so we can at least maybe take it to Cuyahoga Heights and say, and we're combating I&I. I mean, we're doing it. We stopped a good one up you know, I think this one at the airport has potential if they had snow and heavy rains. So I think eventually if everybody does a little bit towards the I&I, we'll be good, you know?
Because I don't think it's from what I gather from people I've spoken to, it's not so much the money to buy the units. Like you said, they're not going to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on something that they can't do.
And they're already up against material
Yeah.
price increases. So, you know,
If we want to have them come into to the trustees and present a preliminary plan, I would like to have Brent Cross in the room at that time in our meeting. But if we're going to do that, it doesn't make more sense for them to do a preliminary project presentation to the planning board because Brent is normally there anyway. And he can say, and we just know at that point that there's going to be an additional 300 units.
They could, as long as it's something like an informal or whatnot, but if they are going down the PDA path,
It would have to come to us.
you guys have to approve that, yes, you can go on with the next step. And then eventually it does come back to you, but.
True.
So, I mean, I don't know, maybe we can, I don't know whether Brett can even give us a better answer.
Well, at least he would be there and he could answer somewhat from the Cuyahoga Heights side.
and you know, we're talking about expenses, they're keeping in mind is Steve Fury the other day said, well, wait a minute, when we originally looked at this lot, it was the permits were $1,000 a piece. We see the village raise them up to $2,350. Mike and I said, well, until you get a permit, you don't get a mulligan. It's the $2,350. And
Grandfather
he
didn't.
said, well, it was pretty confidential. I says, I assure you it wasn't. I assure you it wasn't.
Back to the original.
I mean, maybe in Atlanta, Georgia, where this guy's out of, he probably didn't see it in his local newspaper, but sorry, it's $2,350.
Right.
So.
That's a big chunk.
Yeah, it goes up. That's a lot. That's, I mean, 170 units times 1,000. When you do the math, it's easy.
But from what you said earlier, the logistics of getting their sewer flow down to Village of Cuyahoga Heights could be very expensive from our side too.
Either way it happens, they're gonna have to do some upgrades to the system. And that's what people don't. 55 ripples on Highgate where our flow goes down through and then cuts back through the people is an issue there. So if that has to be the path that they choose, then they have to do some upgrades. So the numbers are really adding up for them.
Right.
So then you gotta look at the feasibility at that.
Okay. All right, thanks. Just like these guys are, I mean, I'm busy in there. Brian's really busy. I mean, we've just got a lot of permits and stuff coming in. To give you an update, I mean, Aldi's is moving along relatively slow. They're now putting up sheetrock. They're moving a little bit faster. They're working on the front facade out there if you've been by there. The VA clinic I just went through the plan review. I just issued them their permit. They had already gone through the special permit process. So they're pretty much going to really start going at it. I think early in the week is what Rick Briggs was saying.
Oh,
sorry.
go ahead, Pat.
Did we solve the, what was it they wanted? They wanted that, they didn't want to pay for something.
Yeah, but we made them. We already.
Oh,
We
yeah.
made them pay.
Yeah.
They are for profit. They are not.
That's for profit, yeah. That's kind to say they were.
The truth comes out.
Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of, it might have been my fault. I kind of, being a VA clinic, I kind of thought maybe they were not for profit, but I guess they never really came out and said that. I just had assumed it. So, but we found out.
Okay.
It all worked out fine.
Right.
Um,
I have a question for you. Is it going to be problematic to have all these in that clinic or the new clinic working at the same time there logistically within that space? I mean, are they going to be able to get all of their materials and equipment and staff working at the same time? Is there any,
as far as initial setup,
well, just as the whole.
Construction, you mean?
Yeah, construction, yeah,
when it's functioning, the construction.
yeah, construction.
It might get a little chaotic over there.
Okay.
But they're all gonna be staying within the actual facade and out,
Footprint of
taking
it.
up the rest of the property or anything.
Okay.
That fenced in area is just to become a little bit bigger. And some of that fenced in area happened to run over into the Party City area a little bit, so I think they're gonna utilize it altogether. Because I know there's one guy on the job who is representing Brixmore. So there's somebody common there that
Okay.
can keep them
So that's,
sorts.
they'll be negotiating all of that stuff.
But I'll make sure, I'll double check it. I'll make.
Just
I really feel that, like, my father-in-law is a disabled vet in a motorized chair, and I feel like traversing over that roadway is gonna be an issue. I mean, he goes to the one in Freeville now, and they're moving out here, and you have that, I mean, you look at it, it's a long gourd crossing, pedestrian crossing, but people don't pay attention to that. It's gonna be north and south for them to drive in front of the building. It's not like they're diverting traffic around. I just feel it's, you take the patients that come into the VA, a lot of them are there because they're immobile. It just seems to me like the traverse across that parking area is gonna be problematic to me. Did they ever think about that?
Yeah, the planning board actually brought up a lot about that parking lot, whether something could be done. And I think actually Lisa brought it up about being, how you travel right in front of all of the tenants through there that, there's 50 stop signs. They're good.
Yeah.
And Lisa had, to quote her, said, with all those stop signs there, nobody's gonna want to stop.
Oh, yeah,
And
we know that.
And she's right, but they have, I guess from what Mark Newman said, who was representing Brixmore, is they have a contract, in the contract with the tenants. They can't divert them away from driving into the front
Oh,
because of exposure for the
sure, for the other tenants.
other ones, for everybody to see them. So I see what you're saying, but
I mean, if you see the one, you and I drive by the one in Freeville every day. We see it. It's secluded. These people have surrounded by handicap spots. So there's not just a few frontal and they work back like it's gonna happen there. And it just seems really like not necessarily a fitting place. It's just my opinion, and I know we gotta carry
The
on.
VA clinic people should have thought of that.
That's what I'm saying. I mean,
Responsible
no,
building.
I know it's not at all. And all I'm saying is the patients don't even know. The doctors don't even know this. My father-in-law's doctor says, we're moving. We don't even know where we're moving to. And the doctors don't even know. So they don't actually take, like how the Guthrie Medical Center was created down there, was they took all the doctors' advice and patient center from the outside rather than being in where all the phone calls were made. It's really a nice setup down there. And I'm surprised they didn't take some of the doctors' considerations up there. Just my opinion.
no, the planning board, they were looking into having pretty much peninsulas run perpendicular with the building to try to divert people around by Pizza Hut and all the way around. But that's when Mark Newman said, can't do it because of the agreement with the tenants. So,
Interesting. Oh, that's good.
the permit's been given for Citizens Bank to go into Tops. I think I had mentioned that before. They're working on that. Lansing Meadows is the next planning board meeting on the 26th is the actual due date for a lot of the conditions that were in the special permit that was, I guess, revised, extended, whatever you want to call it. So there'll be a lot to unpack at that meeting. In the meantime, Eric is trying to get a temporary CFC for that first building. He has met just about every criteria that I need. Some of the criteria from the resolution requires, that's why I asked this morning, requires that A1 commercial sidewalk to be complete and for phase one landscaping to be complete. Now, I can go out and check the phase one landscaping. Matter of fact, I'm probably going out there this afternoon. But if it's not complete, he's going to have to put down an escrow to complete it in order for me to issue any temporary CFC.
The sidewalk looks good. I checked it for cross slope. I checked it. I found a few blems in it and I talked to Jim that need to be fixed. Where people approach that, it's greater than 1/4 inch and that exceeds the ADA compliance. So I had him do that, and then exiting out of the exit side, it's the east side of the entrance there, but that's not A1 sidewalk. There's no backup to the sidewalk, and if things don't get done for winter, the sidewalk will be destroyed. So I made some notes to them. And officially, I'm not sure that sewer. I mean, if you want to get down to the nuts and bolts of it, I don't have an issue with them being a temporary, but officially the sewer hasn't been approved through the DEC either, I don't believe.
Well, that would have to be a condition for the final, right? You were okay with that.
Okay,
Like I said, not gonna go too far with this, but if he's got someone, he says he's got it rented, he's got someone that wants to move in.
trust me, I heard it all yesterday.
Okay,
I thought he was gonna cry.
so.
He's actually found somebody to rent.
Somebody wants to rent. I'll
Did they?
I'll talk to you this afternoon.
Yeah, all right, man.
We'll let it go.
They really need to do some watering. I mean, they planted all that grass seeds and they,
Yeah, they're watering.
it's like a dust bowl.
We like them watering because it's going through the meter.
I don't know, never ending project.
The beers, speaking on that, the beers will be coming back soon. They have given you a pre-final drawing.
I'm gonna follow up with the beers and on the issue that they're the road right away and stuff. I will answer that. What date are they coming back in?
I said, as soon as you, no, I said, I told David that as soon as you run it by John and run it by Brent and you take care of all their questions and concerns, then we're gonna take it to the planning board, because there's no sense of going to planning board, then back to you. This is what we've been doing.
No pressure. I'm just saying, I want to take some time off next week. I'll come in the morning and throw them an email.
They're not gonna get on the next one anyway.
Okay. All
So
right.
do what you gotta do.
I've been dragging my feet. I mean, I haven't been dragging my feet, but I mean, it's,
No, I didn't want it to sound like that. That
no,
was,
no.
anytime I have a problem, I find a way to dump it on you.
Delegation.
The planning board had a special meeting to discuss the tree conservation law, and I think we're going to have some type of draft, some type of final draft this next meeting coming up on the 26th that we'll look over. Hopefully at that point, I'll take it, I'll put it into proposed local law, and then they're hoping to get it to the trustee to take a look at.
Okay, good.
Natalie French and I have been working on, if you remember, there's New York State changed the 1203, which is the minimum standards for building and code that each municipality has to adopt. You know, originally they have to adopt it. Any changes, you have to re-adopt it. So there's quite a few changes. And one of them was the operating permits, which I will, once we get a local law proposed, I'll go over all the changes from, you know, what is going to change from the old one. If you remember, I don't know, maybe Jeff and Susan, you weren't here, but one of the biggest issues is the operating permits. In general, an assembly area such as this has 63. You needed to have an operating permit, so you need to be inspected every year if your occupancy was over 100. Now they want to change it to 50. And in their viewing or in their writing, they not only want the assembly area inspected, it's a building that has an assembly area that's over 50. So take Borg Warner, for example. We have to go in and inspect that every year, all of Borg Warner.
Wow.
So it's an increase. And we're gonna find out, you know, because it has to be passed by the end of the year. And then, like we had spoken before, we're gonna see what kind of time it takes before we get to next year's budget time.
Right.
I can't say the hours are gonna go down. That's
No.
fair.
I don't see how.
So we're working on that. I was a little late because it was on kind of the subject that I sent out in a planning board meeting, we had a resident come in and kind of explain about 134 Graham Road. I was just over there because I had one of the tenants call me that they had mold, their window was busted, there was homeless people living in the laundry room. I went over there. It's true, the window's broken out, they're living there. There's a bunch of cars there that are unlicensed. There's a lot of things that I could write up on, and which I'm going to get on right now. But one of the things is, yes, there was a few sleeping bags. Now, that becomes a health department issue. So I'm gonna get a hold, I have to talk to Cynthia Mosier tomorrow anyway from the health department. We're gonna try to come up with as much pressure as we can do legally to try to get to that place, you know, up to standard, but it's not going to fundamentally change what that place, what the resident was actually complaining about. It's not going to fundamentally change that. And I don't know, I reached out to you folks if there's something that we can do, or you know somebody higher up that knows something we could do. It's not that I don't want to do something. I don't think I can do any more than we're doing right now. And I'd like to see it.
Mitchell still own that?
Yeah. You know, and on top of that, you know, we've got the Econo Lodge, which is causing concerns in the village. We've got somebody camping out right behind Cuba Heights in the trees. It would be nice to find some way to attack this now before we're overrun. And by no means am I judging anybody. I'm just saying it's the crime and the littering and.
Village is beautiful.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see some downward trend there. And
They should go for a trip on
I
that.
mean, these guys are out looking at that stuff and, you know, they see it.
Are the homeless still in the Econ Lodge?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, because I heard that they were back down in the jungle
Depends upon the
this
weather.
summer.
Depends upon the weather. But there are some who are there year round with children usually. But in the winter, the code blue from the state level, the county is forced to move people indoors if they want it. So they use the Econo Lodge. It's not the only one. They use several within the Ithaca area to bring people indoors.
There's an awful lot of trash piling up in in that mall where Aldi's is.
Right.
Carts all over the place and.
The homeless problem is a countywide, it's actually a national, global problem. I'm not sure as a village, there is not a lot we can do. We don't have a police force. The only thing we could do is call the county sheriff's department and say they're homeless, you know, drive by, check them out. I mean, the sheriff's department can move them out and 3 hours later, they can come back in. It's a constant problem. I'm checking with county. I'm trying to find out someone at the state level if they can suggest a way. But it's a problem that New York City is having similar issues. It's everywhere. I don't know what we can do to change it permanently for the better. But the only thing we can do is ask for support from law enforcement. One thing I do want to impress on you, Mike, is don't go into a dangerous situation all by yourself. If you think there might be a concern, have a county sheriff's department dispatch someone with you. I mean, there are times I know when you may have to in an emergency, but don't put yourself at risk either.
They can Nick with you.
Take you, yeah.
None of our staff needs to put it on. Okay, let me rephrase that. It's not just Mike.
Yeah, Ronnie knows that one.
I can issue a notice of violation, talk to them about it, they fix it, but they do the very minimal.
That's the minimum.
Satisfied my violation and that's it, but there's no incentive or no anything for them to improve it.
One thing I did, based upon Kip's public comments, I'm trying to find out who is responsible for the cleanup of drug paraphernalia that's discarded around properties. It probably is the property owner, but if they don't do it, someone else might have to do it.
We
And,
find it all the time.
and,
Find them
and
right out here in our parking lot.
we, you know, if we have to hire someone to do that because it's dangerous, a collection of those items, that's got to be charged to someone. I mean, it's like anything else. If the property owner of 134 will not do it, cannot do it, and we have to do it, then we would hire a contractor to do that. And we would turn around and bill them for it. But I want to make sure we have legal grounds for doing that, of saying that they must, and if they don't, we will, but they have to pay for it. So I'm trying to find out. I started through Frank Krupa at the county health department to find out if he knew who was responsible. If not, who's the best contact at the state level to tell us that. So we can do what we can do, but we as a village will not be able to solve KIP's problems. That is a societal problem that goes way above our pay grade and our ability legally to take care of. But we can see if we can find ways of fixing little problems and making it somewhat better. But it's a sad comment on modern life that's come to this, but there are a lot of homeless people out there through no fault of their own. Sometimes it's just a mental health problem. And it's everywhere. And I don't have a solution. If someone comes up with a solution, please let me know. I'll help implement it, but I am researching, I'm trying to find out, but everyone that I've talked to, Deborah tried to get information from the county side, but the county cannot do, there's not much they could do either. I mean, they can offer assistance, but they can't round people up and move them out and put them someplace where they won't come back. They have the right to go wherever they want to go, and you can't arrest them for anything and keep them in jail forever. We don't have enough jail space. So we're not alone. Deborah's checking on it from the county side, which translates also into the state side. So that's the best we can do right now. Report the problems. Let me know if I guess if people call you about the homeless situation, Mike, and you have to do something, let me know, or let me know if I should do it, and I will contact the sheriff's department. I will contact Derek anyway and say, we've got this problem. We're probably going to be calling you to try to get, if there's no supervision or there's no law enforcement presence within that area, they're going to come back. But the more the law enforcement goes in, it's a potential that they'll decide to go somewhere else. Where will they go? We don't know. We have no control over.
Like that gentleman up there on Graham Road, though. I mean, there's a certain time limit before it becomes squatting, right? I mean, don't the property owners have some?
I don't know, that's illegal.
Yeah, but like, did you?
That's what I did was, I hadn't had this situation before, so it's great with Stavola. I put it out there, okay, guys, I need help. You know, what do you do in this situation? What are we supposed to be doing? And just about everyone said you have to notify the property owner because it's trespassing. And then if they want to involve some type of police activity, it's up to them to do it. But as a code official, it's got nothing to do with our code office.
Right. It really does.
That's what I did. I contacted Brixmore.
Okay.
And
That's a good point. So we would ask the owner of 134 to have the homeless removed,
where
contact the police department or the sheriff's
where
department.
this place is, it's on the actual Cuba Mall property.
Okay. So
And then, of course, I'll have to find out more about what I found if there's homeless people in that
yeah,
laundry area for 134.
okay. So I,
That's petrol, isn't it? Yeah, good luck with that.
all right.
I thought he was responsive the last time we had an issue with him. I don't know what happened to
Is
him.
that the garbage, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
garbage in the manhole covers and
So
stuff.
that stayed pretty good. The garbage stayed pretty good. I don't know if anybody's seen any different, but
He fixed the driveway up.
heck of a lot better than it was. And that's Peter Vitkowski, who I deal with. He always comes out and he does, hey, yeah, we'll take care of this, and he does. But like I said, and like we had said before, they do the minimum. That's
Okay.
all, unless anybody's got any questions for around town.
Thank you, Mike. No questions for Mike? Carolyn, Jeff? Okay, then, Susan, what have you got for us
Sorry.
today?
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
give me a second to take off mute. Yeah, no, I did have a question for Mike. So with my work with Ronnie and the Greenway Committee, we were relooking at getting some of those scores for the solar. And so I'd sent you an email saying maybe we should revisit the solar, the model permit. Did you see that email?
I did not see that email.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why I didn't hear back from you.
I
So I was wondering
saw one where you asked me a question about it was about the solar, about using the universal permit.
The model permit, yeah. So yes, I was thinking maybe we should go back and incorporate that or rethink about that. Do you want to maybe get together and talk about that?
Yeah, can we do it once we get the tree conservation law sent to you guys? Then it frees me up and we can sit down and start working on this again. Would that be okay?
Yep.
And I have to cut out because I've got members to meet now. I only had an hour.
Thanks, Jeff.
See you, Jeff.
Oh, and Carolyn, just to let you know, I'm actually taking this night school for CFCU about lending to, not on the residential side, but for the commercial side, for lending for solar panels, whether it's a solar farm or buildings. So I'm starting to learn all about these solar farms, which I didn't know much about and didn't want to lend to, but now it's an interesting thing, and it's really neat. It's very nice.
Yeah, once it gets to the solar farm size, it's probably going to be outside the scope of our code change because then it's going to be regulated by the state.
Gotcha.
But yeah, we'll get to that hopefully.
All right. See everybody later. Sorry about
Thanks,
this.
Jeff.
Bye, Jeff.
Hey, Susan?
Nothing from me.
Nothing? Okay.
Thanks.
Carolyn?
Sorry, when Jeff left, my screen changed. I lost my unmute for a second. Yeah, the other thing was, so Ronnie, the other thing I had volunteered to do for the Greenway was to just get the dot the i's to get credit for having recycling bins in the office. And
Right.
I looked at what some of the things that were done, and it was just having a statute and then also some photographs. And I asked Jody, and she was like, "Yeah, come in and take some pictures." But we don't need a statute because there's already one from Tompkins County. So is that your understanding of what we needed to do, was just to come in and take photos of the recycling bins? And if so, where do I submit them?
If you take the pictures and give them to me, I'll double check to see if we can just state, we might have to have a resolution or something stating that for recycling within our offices, we follow the Tompkins County model. We might need something like that. I'll find out. I can contact Gina about that and see if that's good enough, or she could suggest something else. But then I will submit the pictures as part of the evidence on the website, the web portal for the
Okay, so I'll just come
I'm
in
thinking
tomorrow.
the CSC and CEC.
So Jody, if that's okay, are you open Fridays, Jody?
Tomorrow?
Yeah.
Possibly. I don't know how long I'm gonna be here though.
All right, that's okay. I'll come in on Monday and take the pictures, and then I'm happy to write the resolution if we need one, but like Jody had suggested that we didn't need one. So let me know.
I'll find out for sure if we have to have something in our minutes. It'll be as simple as possible. Okay, anything else, Carolyn?
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Thanks. Pat?
No, I don't have.
Okay, thanks, Pat. I've got a couple of comments. We all agreed, at least through emails, that we would pay the maintenance of effort contribution from the village for the recreation partnership. So Simon could vote Monday night. So it passed that. So our contribution will go up this year to $19,451. We'll just need to be sure to include that within our,
It's already in the budget folder, ready to mark.
thank you, Jody. So that I told him that we would and we would follow through. So thank you. Thanks everyone for responding to that. I appreciate it. You saw my email about the Safe Streets and Roads for All group discussion. I'm going to attend a meeting Monday night, this coming Monday, but on the 25th, to get more information. Basically, all of the participants in this group include the Ithaca and surrounding municipalities, want to submit a grant application for all of us where we could hire a contractor to come up with a safety plan. And I don't know what our part would be. The number they come up with would not be divided, which is 20% of the overall grant amount, would not be divided evenly among the municipalities because of the sizes. The city and town of Ithaca are going to pay most of it. We'll pay a little bit. But I want to find out for sure, what are we really going to get out of this? Is it worthwhile for us to participate? The safety action plan, if we have it, at that point, we would have to try to find a way to implement the plan that was recommended by this consultant or grant writer, pretty much. So I'll get more information. I'll give it to you, but ultimately I won't say yes or no. I'll come back to the trustees and we will decide before we go forward with that. I don't know at this point what we will really get out of it. And until I do, I come back to you with confidence. I don't want to commit us to anything. So beyond that, I don't really have anything else to report today. So I will move that we adjourn if someone will second.
I'll second.
Pat second. She beat you, Susan. Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay, it's unanimous. We are adjourned at
1:07.
1:07 PM.
Pay the bills? I didn't hear that one.
Yeah, we paid the bills. I've signed the checks and stuff.
Worried about you. We thought you needed help.
Hello, are you guys still there?
Hi, Carolyn.